Problem number 2, failed prophecy. And this is important because in the Old Testament, the standard was absolute perfection or accuracy. Every prophecy had to be totally true. If the prophecy was false, that made the person what? Yes, if you give a false prophecy, that makes you a false prophet. Obviously, that's the definition. Deuteronomy 18, verses 20 through 22, the Lord says, when a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if that thing does not happen, then that is the thing which the Lord has not spoken. And we know that under the law of Moses, God called for the death penalty for anyone who would make false prophecies. Okay. And yet in the charismatic movement, people make false prophecies all the time. And then when they get caught, they say, oh yeah, but that doesn't make me a false prophet. Case in point, here is Kris Valletton, the number 2 guy at Bethel Church. Watch as he admits he got his Donald Trump prophecy. And that's another thing. Prophecy in the Bible is about Christ. Christ is the spirit of prophecy. That's what the book of Revelation says. These guys are getting prophecies about Donald Trump. And I mean, that should be the first red flag. But here is Kris Valletton of Bethel Church, a leader in the charismatic movement, admitting he got his Trump prophecy wrong. Oh, but that doesn't make me a false prophet. Really? Watch.
But secondly, I really want to apologize, sincerely apologize for missing the prophecy about Donald Trump. I prophesied that Donald Trump would be president 4 days after he took the nomination. The first time, 4 days after he declared himself a candidate, I should say, the first time. And that was obviously right. And then later on, I prophesied that he would not be impeached, and in fact, that he would win another term. And I was completely wrong. I take full responsibility for being wrong. There's no excuse for it. I think it doesn't make me a false prophet, but it does actually create a credibility gap. And a lot of people trust me.
What's wrong with you people?
Now, you know why he can't admit it. He said, well, that doesn't make me, making false prophecies doesn't make me a false prophet. You're like, seriously, dude? No, of course it does. But you know why he can't admit it? Because as soon as he admits it, what's he going to say? I'm a false prophet. Then the leaders at Bethel Church are going to have to admit that they have false leaders. It's a false church. And they're not going to do that. They're not going to close up shop when they're raking in millions of dollars per year. I mean, Bethel Church, and this is another thing about Bethel, they're one of the most popular charismatic churches. They even have guys like Mike Winger out there who claim, I mean, his video is still on his channel where Mike Winger says, well, Bethel, they have some problems, but I mean, real prophecy and true miracles are coming out of Bethel. So don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I mean, this is a huge problem because just about every charismatic church, if they're not buying into Bethel's doctrine, they're playing their music, and a lot of churches are buying into their doctrine, but even non-charismatic churches are playing their music, which means you have to give them money, which means they're well-funded, they're raking in millions. And once you're that rich and that famous, we've seen it before again with Jimmy Swaggart and others, you can pretty much get away with anything. You can weather any storm. And that's the problem with failed prophecy. They get away with it most of the time.